think of storm chasers?
I think shortly we're going to be hearing our first story of storm chasers that chased the wrong way and got caught in the tornado,
right up
and
in
that the fatalities
Do you
there.
think it's getting too extreme?
It is, and I think most
Is that
of
because there's money in it?
there's money in it. There's people that plan vacations. There are companies running running storm chasing
There are
vacation.
pages and pages on the web.
And some of the serious scientists that are out there, because they all communicate, are having trouble getting to their sites and to do the investigation because everybody's following them. Hundreds of people may be following them. And so it's you know, it's. I would love to see a tornado. I mean, I've seen some funnel clouds, but not the real McCoy.
You don't want to see the real thing?
I do not have a note from home.
But do you believe, wouldn't you believe though, with the amount of, especially since you respect the information, that there are ways that in the right hands and with the right approach you could observe a tornado safely?
Oh, sure. And like Howie Bluestein in Oklahoma and many others that are researchers there, they have graduate assistants that go out. But I mean, that's what they do. They are not running commercial outfits to say, let's hop on the bus and see if we can see an F5.
What's the pinnacle of your profession? Is it becoming, and I'm just wondering, is it becoming head of the National Hurricane Center or something like that? Is that where weather forecasting leads to?
You mean in career and within? I think having a 100% accurate forecast 365 days a year would be the pinnacle.
Yeah.
But those the people.
Is that a good job though? Running the
Hurricane Center, it's extremely stressful job. Max Mayfield, who I know quite well, would not see his family when the one season that he was, and they get burned out. And so he's a terrific guy and a wonderful communicator. People would come to him. But you look at the other Bob Sheets, wonderful head of the Hurricane Center.
Is he locked up in a retirement home now?
No, he's doing consulting, and he comes out to do on air. But you know, you burn out. And
have you ever gone into a hurricane? Have you ever flown one of the planes that goes into?
Again, I did not have a note from home.
Jeez.
So.
But have you wanted to?
Oh yeah,
Could
sure.
you secretly get away with it and then report back later? Honey, I went in. But it's safe.
I did that once when I flew with the Blue Angels, and
that was enough. That was close enough to the excitement to.
Yeah.
But what's the most extreme weather you've been in then?
Still, I think the blizzard of '78 up in Boston.
Snow. You've never been in a hurricane.
No, we've been on the fringes of a hurricane, but not right in. And I think when I was very young, and my dad was in the service, but I wasn't. Was 3 or 4 years old. But I do remember a hurricane coming up when I was living in New York, and my grandfather had just left and walked out the front porch to go back, and a tree came down and took off the front porch. So it was, a hurricane. Anybody who's been in a hurricane certainly will not stay around to go into a second one. And we could see obviously the devastation from Katrina and the impact. I was down in New Orleans.
Andrew too.
Andrew and down in New Orleans a few weeks ago, and the suffering and the recovery is not there, and that's a failure, not of the forecasting system, but the failure of the planning, the failure of the political system, and the lack of any political power by the poor people that could not raise awareness to protect themselves. So that whole system failed in that, but not the forecasting system.
This is going to fall under the heading of not being able to get a note from home in a big way, but have you ever, because I know you deal with NASA when you can.
Sure.
Have you ever thought about that you'd want to go up into the space station and look at weather from up?
Oh, yeah.
Well, a couple's trip.
And actually, with the scientists in space, I considered that. I would, and then that got changed. But no, I would love to do it. Oh my goodness.
What role does the space station play in what you do? Does it play a role?
Not really the space station itself, but in terms of some of the science that's going on there, and the pictures that we get, and from some of the.
Man, what would you do if the satellites went out?
Oh boy. and one did. There are contingency plans. They're back up. There's a spare up there now, and.
Who does the president's weather forecast? Because he gets his own little separate weather forecast. Or does he get it
Sometimes
from you?
I think it's Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Doesn't he control it? No, I don't.
an office somewhere within the domain
Oh
of
yeah,
the president.
and for anything it would be the the head of NOAA, the head of the Weather Service.
Yeah, and do any of you all ever like collectively? I mean, if the weather's like really looking truly brutal, is there a consensus among weathermen, or
Sure.
Do you,
Oh yeah. I mean,
but you don't talk to each other, or do you?
Not on a daily basis.
No,
Oh no,
but
no,
you've
no.
been
But
known to-
but I mean, in all candor, if there is this a very very tricky storm, you know, I might I'm on at 11 o'clock. I might watch 10 o'clock just to see what's somebody's saying.
Somebody's saying,
And
laughing.
say, aha! I bet, you know. But I think with anything, you have to look at all of the information and rely on your experience and feel you are going to make the best forecast, help people make the best decision you can be, or else I wouldn't be doing what I do.
Well, we only have a minute left, but I want to wind up with the questions sent in by your loyal colleagues. I'm assuming these people work for you, or you
are they?
their boss. You know who they are. Chuck and Veronica sent me
Chuck
this
and
email
Veronica.
last night. Chuck and
They
Veronica.
may not work for me tomorrow, but
Well, okay. Well,
But what's the question?
they say we love ribbing Bob. So, is your longevity at NBC more skill or luck?
I would hope that it's that it
A
is
little bit of
skill.
both? Okay.
And you know, obviously, if somebody comes in and says, I hate red hair and I want to just change the way everything
Right.
is done, I'd say, well,
We want a
okay,
clown
that's been a
suit.
lot. It's been a lot of fun. That's not going to happen. That's
Okay.
not going to come back.
You just signed a contract, so you know.
No. I mean, in terms of any
No,
place,
no,
in, any
I
place
know,
in the
it's
country,
not gonna go back
and
to-
it has been really, really fun for me to see the
impact
advance,
people like you have had.
And you look around Washington and across
Right.
the board, we
You
have
brought the whole thing
we have
up.
a lot of fun with the weather, but it's also it's also a great piece of information, a credible piece of information.
What has been your biggest bust of a forecast?
I guess the one of the '87 Veterans Day. Yeah,
Right, that
yeah.
you.
And I had to, it was interesting, and after that, we had a local meeting in the AMS, and I had to go down, and I was giving a little presentation on
You had to get tortured?
and at the National Center for Environmental Prediction, these are all the scientists there,
Right.
and one of the leading scientists who had actually developed the models. So then here, I was trying to explain why I busted the forecast. Yeah. So, but that, I think that stands out.
You can always use Nathan's if you need an excuse. You can just say you were here and we'll vouch for you.
There you go.
Do you really get paid the same even when you were wrong?
Well, that's, when I go to schools and young people say, and it's interesting, years ago, they would never think of asking you what your salary was. And so now, right, that's one of the first questions. What kind of car do you drive? What's your salary? So I say, whenever I bust a forecast, I don't get paid. So tell your parents, please, when the forecast is wrong, Bob Ryan did not get paid today. So, but no, it's, fortunately,
It works out.
it works out.
Well,
It
they said they'd give me the real answers later, but I have a feeling, I have a feeling you did too. Our time is up. Thank you very much. I hope it wasn't too awful.
Oh, no,
I know.
it was a lot of fun.
Because he was telling me he much prefers to talk to school kids, but
No.
but you're a bunch of school kids at
That's
heart.
right.
But thank you very much, Bob.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you. And thank
Enjoy
you
the
all.
weather.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the